Second thing is positive. When I walk around town, I've always observed a lady who walks also, and I approached her once, and she was naturally reticent when a stranger approached her, but I learned her name is Karen. And she walks, it seems like every day, all over the borough with a bag, picking up litter, because she says, I hate litter. What a wonderful public servant. Just wanted to recognize her. Second negative thing, in terms of appearance. I know it's Penn Manor and blue and gold, but the trash receptacles that the borough is employing are hideous. Enough said. On a positive note, our fire hydrants are once again beautiful, because I learned one day out walking that Mike Caulfield has taken it upon himself to do what the city of Lancaster won't do and maintain the appearance of the fire plugs, fire hydrants, yes. So I wanted to praise him and say what a wonderful thing. I live in Crossgates, which is part Millersville and part Manor Township. Interestingly, I'm in the Manor Township portion. I no longer pay my taxes to the Millersville Borough, which I did for over 50 years. I paid taxes to the borough. So I thought, gee, he's probably not going to get down here to Manor Township. I go outside my house today, and there is a bright red, beautiful fire hydrant. Going along Crossland Pass in Manor Township, he's painted them all. I'm just
Someone
impressed.
picked up on that. They're not, I was just about ready to buy some more paint. I go around it. So someone else has done, I don't know whether it's someone for the borough, but probably someone from the city, because it's their.
Because you shamed him into it, huh?
So yeah.
Well, you were the instigator and the inspiration, so I want to focus my
Thank you.
praise on you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Would anybody else like to address council? Very well. Seeing none, we will move on. We have as of our last meeting, a new member of council, Angela Cuthbert. I will be appointing her to fill some vacancies previously held by our departing council member, Darlene Ager. So she will be joining our Public Works Committee and our Personnel Committee. We will retain Councilmember Gerber as the chair of our Personnel Committee. Also, we do have a vacancy for Assistant Secretary that Darlene was previously filling. If there are no objections, I'll be appointing Angela to that position as well. Very well. We will need a motion for that. So I will move to appoint Angela Cuthbert as the Assistant Secretary of the Millersville Borough Council. Do I have a second?
Second.
Very good, thank you, Marion. Any discussion required on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Very well, that motion will carry. From there, we'll move on to our committees. First up will be my own Finance Advisory Committee. Those members on the committee, just for the audience, raise your hand for me. Here we go, and Marion, there we are. We don't have a whole lot to do here, but we will want a motion to accept the July financial report. Would anybody like to make that motion?
So moved.
You are not on the finance. Wait, are you?
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. Now I'm getting all turned around.
I'll make a motion to accept the July financial report and authorize staff to satisfy the ordinary and routine obligations incurred by the borough for this month.
Very well. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Very good, Marion. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Very good. That motion carries. Next, I believe we have a presentation of financial requirements for our minimum municipal obligations for borough pension plans. Rebecca, is this you?
Yes.
Take it away.
All right, so every year, our pension specialists at Thomas J. Anderson and Associates provide us with what is our minimum municipal obligation for the year, our MMO. This is the amount that the borough has to put into both the non-uniform and the uniform pensions in order to keep them sustainable and paying for any new pensioners who would join the next few years and then those who are already on it. As you can see from what I provided at the backup, for our police minimum municipal pension, we're looking at $609,787 as our MMO. That does include what we would hopefully anticipate as state aid,
Quick note, you said 609,787?
987.
Thank you, that's what I needed.
For our non-uniform, that would be $155,920.
I'm sorry, again?
$155,920 is our MMO for the non-uniform pension.
And you say this includes what we would get back from the state, or does not?
I'm sorry, this does not include what we'd be getting in state
Okay.
aid to be able to hit the minimum. And we will hopefully find that out sometime in the next few months is when we usually get that information. But this is all based on the actuary studies that they perform to be able to look at the kind of scary numbers, you know, of how long people are going to live and all those things. So all council has to do this evening for essentially accepting these, because we don't have, some years there has been an option for us to write in if we wanted to do the minimum or if we wanted to do an additional amount. We don't have that additional line this year, so we're going with just exactly what the MMO is. So there's no other action to be taken besides council approving that this is going to be our MMO for 2026, and that will be, of course, then put into the budget for next year.
Is there any chance that this will be changed with the ongoing negotiation with the police?
No, because this is based on how things are at this exact moment. Any of those wouldn't go in, anything that is negotiated with the police would go into effect in January 1st, 2026. So then they would do, it would then change things for the future, but that would be going forward. This is based on the here and now.
Very good. Other questions for Rebecca? Very well. Then I will move to accept the 2026 minimum municipal obligation for the police pension and non-uniform pension. Do I have a second?
You do.
Very good, thank you, Mary Ann. Any discussion, any further discussion required on this? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Then the motion carries. I don't believe we have any items for personnel. Did a great job filling all those positions last time. So we'll move on to Public Works.
Okay, everyone on Public Works who is here, please raise your hand so that everyone knows who we are. Okay, thank you. The first thing is a review of the July codes. Is,
Rob was unfortunately unable to be here tonight.
Okay.
He had a medical thing that he had to handle. Hopefully he'll be here at the next meeting, but he did provide the report. Those are all
We
in
all
the
saw them,
backup.
yes.
And if there's any questions on it, I can either answer them or I can take them back to Rob and get you an answer.
I have a question. What about that property close to Bob McLean's on Manor Avenue that we've heard numerous complaints about?
So we've been moving through the process with them, the required process that we have to go through for code enforcement. They have been issued multiple notices, and I believe it was just this afternoon that Rob, that we'd hit the next deadline in terms of amount of time we have to wait for them to respond, and they've now been issued a citation. He either put that out this afternoon, or he'll be putting it out first thing tomorrow, depend on when he had to leave for his appointment. But we're moving through the process with that. We have, once we issue the citation, there is then a waiting period that starts there.
And how close are we to taking them to the MDJ?
If the citation is not going to be paid and/or handled, as in the property will be handled, then we can go in that direction.
And if they don't respond or answer your complaint, then you can move forward? You said you're waiting for them to respond?
Well, so when they have a citation issued, they are expected, one, to pay the citation, and two, to then remedy the issue. if they pay it, it puts us in a bit of a difficult position because they've paid it, but they haven't handled it. If they do neither of those, then yes, then we could be able to take them to the MDJ.
Okay, thank you.
But of course, it would require then finding them.
The MDJ would fine them.
But hopefully.
Right. And if they do pay the citation, then if you inspect them again, the process starts all over again.
It starts all over again.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Any other
Okay, any other questions? We all received the codes report. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, if not, then we will move on to the next item, discussion of a letter of support for resident rain garden request. At our last meeting, we were asked about this, and Ms. Angle, who's here, I can see, came to the borough and wanted to know about a grant or applying for a grant. And the borough doesn't typically apply for a grant on behalf of a homeowner. That's the homeowner's responsibility if they want to try to get a grant for doing things on their property. And then she requested a letter of support from the Borough Council to support her project. And so I contacted her immediately after the last meeting and did a little bit of research and some background, and she was good enough to supply me with the fact that what she wants to do has been approved by Garmin, because it is Winfield and that's a Garmin property. There is no HOA at this point because most of the homes are not built or sold or whatever yet, so they're not in anywhere near that phase. And so at this point, I don't really think that it's necessary for us to provide you with a letter. It is your property. Garmin has approved you doing the rain garden, so you can feel free to go ahead and do that, since this is, your property and your project. Does anyone have any questions or comments about that?
No, pretty clear.
If I could, what, in addition to actually planting the rain garden, we want to do an educational program on stormwater management and clean water in our specific catchment area. And if possible, I was hoping we could have that program here at the Borough Building. If it's not possible, I have other options. I did get funding for the project, but as long as, and I'm also hoping that the borough would be willing to help me publicize this program, the educational program, and there is going to be a small sign at the rain garden, and I would like to be able to put as one of the supporters of the project, the borough of Millersville.
Well, I think at this point, you will need to go ahead and plan your program and have a date, and I do not know that the borough offices or the council room is available for that type of activity. Rebecca, can you?
We do have that new application process that council
Right.
approved earlier this year, so that application is available on the website to apply to use this room.
Okay, so that's your next step, and that's what you would need to do, and then it would go forward from there.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
And when does our newsletter start?
We just approved it for printing, so it should be coming out probably by the 31st of this month.
Oh, okay, so that could be there could be a message to this effect in,
Well, not for this one.
Not for
'cause
this
it's
one, but the
already put
future.
together.
oh,
Just
okay,
approved
I
it.
mean,
Yeah,
in the
in-
newsletter, since it's started already. I wasn't sure it was gonna start this year yet, but, yeah, that'd be another way to advertise the.
Coming to your
Your property.
mailboxes soon.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Any questions about anything here? Then that's all for Public Works.
Very good. Mr. Mayor?
A lot of you were here for National Night Out. We had a fantastic turnout. A lot of folks from the neighborhood came out. great time. Thanks again to Snyder's for allowing us to use their parking lot. And my understanding is majority of the folks just love getting a tour of the police department by some of our officers. That's a highlight. We talked last meeting about the crime watch and trying to improve people in the borough signing up for that. So these cards were given out during National Night Out. And if anybody hasn't yet, please sign up for crime watch through the borough. Jeff, do you have anything?
No, just to echo the same thing, that if you stood back and looked at the crowd we had, it was nice to see all the people from our community come out that did. It was hundreds of people, so it's a nice feeling.
All right. Yeah, had a great time myself. Very good. Then we'll move over to you, Rebecca, for the manager's report.
Sure. Also want to say the National Night Out was fantastic, and we put a couple of the highlight pictures from the Civil Service Commission. We put them on a post on the website if anybody wants to see some of the highlights. But absolutely great night. So thrilled to see so many people from the community coming out. Just a few items this evening. The first one, I just wanted to give a quick update on our utility billing transition. As you all know, we transitioned from one utility billing software to another, and we have so far at this point gone through basically 1.5 of our billing cycles. We did our last cycle sort of half and half, and then this cycle we have put out the bills with the new system. It doesn't have necessarily a huge effect on residents if they pay the same way that they always have in terms of coming into the office or paying a bill by just sending in a check. That doesn't change. For folks who are paying online, they just have to make sure that they're going to the new site to be able to pay for those bills, and that is on our website as well as in the bill itself when they receive it. So far, many folks have been able to make the transition with no issues, but if you do have any issues paying your bill or any issues with the new process, calling our office is the quickest way to get through, or if you go onto the site itself and you are having an issue, there's a little customer service box. It comes right to us and we'll be able to help with any issues. But so far, so good with our transition to the new billing software. Any questions about that?
None? I don't believe. All right.
The next item to talk about is discussion of an application to the Lancaster County Conservation District's low-volume road grant program that we're looking to do for a section of Creek Drive. As we all know, Creek Drive is a road back past the university that goes up, and then it goes down, and then it gets to the river there. It is what we would consider a low-volume road, as in it does not get traveled on very often, sometimes barely at all. But it is a road that is part of the borough, and we recently, in talking with the Lancaster County Conservation District, learned about their low-volume road program, which would be an opportunity to do some upgrades to that road that generally don't make a lot of sense for the borough to use our liquid fuels funding for, because liquid fuels funding really should be for our roads that get the most traffic, because those are obviously the roads that then need more regular maintenance. So Creek Drive being one of those roads that does not get a lot of attention generally, it's a little more cost effective for the borough to be looking at grant funding for a road like this, and this program is specifically meant for this, especially because Creek Drive leads into a body of water, being the river there. This program was kind of made for this. We've had a number of meetings, myself and Kyle's here as well for any questions about this. We've had multiple meetings with the Conservation District about this. We've done some site visits with them, as well as having some conversations with the university, because as part of this project that we would be doing to hopefully narrow Creek Drive, as well as create stormwater basins that would go down to be able to take the water off the road, down to the river, into a basin, and then out into the river. And that there's a picture of what the plan would be like in your backup. In moving the water off of the road, the Millersville University Biological Preserve is right there, so we had a conversation with them about basically having an agreement that it would be okay for the stormwater to go into that biological reserve. So we're working through that process with them about a consent agreement. But we see a lot of value in this project for a variety of reasons, as I said, the sort of a financial reason, but also it has a lot of sustainability measures. By moving the water in this direction, we're really helping to remove the sediment that's going directly into the creek by bringing it off the road and out into it, into the ground there, versus it going straight down, collecting all of the sediment on the road, as well as any salt that we've used for salting the roads in the winter, and bringing that right into the creek, making the creek, a little more dirty. This would be a way for us to be able to contribute to the healthiness of the creek, or of the river, while also being able to get some serious work done on a road that needs some work. And the nice thing about this too is this is a grant program that generally covers all of the costs of said project. We're looking at an application being due on the 22nd. Kyle and I were putting together a draft today. We're going back and forth with the LCCD staff about it. But our understanding from them is we're pretty strong candidates for a program like this. And so we're hoping to get everything together and then bring the actual proposal, or I should say the actual application, back to council to approve at their meeting on the 26th, and then we'd be submitting it right after that. They would allow us until the 27th because of council dates to be able to submit it. So no vote this evening, but we wanted to get council's initial feedback or answer any questions about this potential grant opportunity.
Cal, you want to step into the batter's box for me? While you're doing that, Rebecca, the low-volume road grant program, I understand that we're good applicants for this. What is the intention of this grant? Is it for stuff like this, specifically conservation, runoff, and proper care of our waterways?
Yes, and also proper care of low-volume roads that are because they're generally not paved as often, that are sort of crumbling in certain ways and aren't contributing to safety reasons either, so.
That was going to be my primary question for you, Kyle. So I am nuts about conservation. I love the idea. My concern is when we talk about low volume on these roads, I understand we're talking about low automobile traffic.
Yes.
Is this traversed with any frequency, or do we have any data on how often pedestrians use this road, or it gets walked?
That was part, and actually this is all preliminary yet, but there was talk of putting a pedestrian walking area along the side off of the road.
Because when we talk about road narrowing, we start talking also about public safety, about traffic safety and things of that nature. I mean, when we talk about low-volume roads, we're talking about roads that not only don't see paving as often, but aren't as well lit, aren't as well patrolled, those kinds of things. Are we in danger of increasing any risks to public safety through narrowing this road?
I don't feel like it. The road is actually 34 and a half feet wide, which is wider than some of the roads we have, main roads.
Yeah.
So, and they only want to narrow it down to 26 feet. So, which is our code for a two-lane road. That's what our borough code is. And the low-volume road is 500 or less a day, 500 cars a day or less. Mm-hmm. And if,
We get maybe 10.
yeah, I sit there, actually for this, I did have to sit
That's
there.
unusual.
And when we talk about a pedestrian walkway, what is the seriousness with which that's being considered? Like, what's preventing us from doing something along those lines that's separate from the road or off to the side?
Just engineering. We would just.
Engineering,
Yeah,
okay.
if we get the grant, then we'll go through the engineering and see the feasibility of it. It's just about the engineering.
Excellent.
The only other problem with sidewalk on that section is the wintertime.
Sure.
Technically, the university, that's their property, would be the ones in charge of it, but I don't know how all that's gonna, as far as maintaining the sidewalk.
No, I understand. We'd have to get their buy-in in some way because of their exposure, their liability exposure. All right.
And they've, we had a meeting with them, we've gone back and forth in email, they're very supportive of the project, the university is, because it obviously benefits them in a number of ways as well. So, we had the initial conversation with them to talk about if all of these elements of this project were to go forward, how they would feel about it. And I think in general, they're supportive of whatever we can make the engineering work.
All right. I mean, that's obviously for future conversations. Other questions for Kyle
I
or
just have
Rebecca?
one, and that is, do you have any idea, Kyle, if very many people actually walk down there?
There is.
Now, there's a lot of hands are going up.
We will have an opportunity for a second public comment once we get through the rest of the report here.
It's one of those roads I don't go on very often.
Right.
We check it but there is a lot of people that walk down through there. There's a walking path down past like the pumping station, the sewer
Okay.
pumping station.
Our sewer pumping station.
Yeah.
Ours. And then it connects, I forget exactly, but I think it goes around and then comes up behind like the Palmer building.
Which is somewhat unofficial, of course. Those
Yeah.
are like made paths. When we had our meeting with the university, Pete Anders, the chief at the university, he did mention that if there are students walking down there, it's generally for nefarious purposes.
Various purposes.
Well, that,
To get away.
yes.
That's
Many people walk down there for unofficially putting in things that they might go on the creek on, which is unofficial because that is not an official boat launch. So there are people who walk their dogs, which is perfectly fine, and we will, they will still be able to do so. But there may be people walking down there for other purposes,
Understood.
which we still need to keep safe, of course.
Yeah, and no action by council is required. This is just
Yep.
an update, which I appreciate. Does anybody, before I cut them loose, have questions for Kyle or Rebecca? All right. Members of the public, just hold your questions until we get to our second public comment of the evening, and we can process some of that. Thank you, Kyle.
The next item is somewhat similar in nature and talking about a grant application. This is a very new opportunity. The Main Street Matters grant program is through the state, and this is the second year of the program. It was just launched last year. And this program, the point of it is to provide local municipalities as well as like local development groups to do different types of planning and or different types of infrastructure work to help support creating that main street kind of charm in our downtown areas. This came to my attention actually through a conversation with the firm that helped us submit the application for the Park Master Plan program. And they thought we might be good for this. And we also had talked about this last year in our budget conversation, that we were hoping as part of the borough's long-term goals to be able to go after a grant to be able to do some conversations around bringing in businesses focused on that main street sort of charm and atmosphere, as well as help with our commercial tax base, which we know is very important to continue to grow as a community with 40% tax exempt property. As some of you might remember, I think some of you may have been on at the time, there was work done in 2015 and 16 on a downtown district zone that helped to put in place some additional zoning that would help create more of that downtown feel at the Manor Avenue, Lehman Avenue intersection there. And I was going back to that in thinking about this grant, as well as we have, of course, our residential professional zone that runs all the way down George Street. And in talking with the folks at Barry Islet about this, that whole area from Manor Avenue all the way through George Street would probably be a pretty good candidate for something like this, and really fits in the goals of that zone, the downtown district zone that the council put into place in 2016, as well as the work of the comprehensive plan. So much of the visioning that was done in the comprehensive plan would fit exactly into, this would basically be taking it a next step if we were to get this grant, of doing an actual plan to figure out, these are our goals from the comprehensive plan, how can we actually implement business retention and business attraction into our main street corridors, so to speak. So this opportunity is one of those ones where it's a quick grant opportunity. It comes up and goes away really fast. So it just opened a few weeks ago and it closes in 2 weeks. So they don't give you a lot of time for this one. But in talking with the consulting firm, and because we were, generally very happy with their work that they did for our park master plan, for the 2 applications they did for us, they put together a proposal that was in your backup materials for them to be able to put together this application for us, for a revitalization study focused on business retention and attraction in our Main Street corridor.
I have a couple things.
Yeah, go for it.
Number one, I've been on council a long time, and this is about the 4th time some consultant was hired to get us a Main Street, bring more businesses along, usually Manor Avenue. So I'm more inclined to just brush it off. But a more serious comment, we know we are getting development, and we know where we're going to get it there at 741 and 999. Don't you think something like this is a bit premature? And I do think things like this will come along again.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I mean, right, this application,
I mean, this
hopefully,
development is going to seriously impact Manor Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd rather not think about, bringing more commercial businesses onto Manor Avenue or making it look more like Main Street or any of that until we settle the development that's going to happen. That's just my 2 cents.
if I could just respond a little bit, I totally understand what you're saying about that, and I think certainly it could go either direction. One could come first, the other could come first. I could certainly see it going either way. I think one of the reasons why I thought it was particularly pertinent right now is, one, because as we see, at where the old Wiley's Pharmacy is, and they've really struggled to be able to bring businesses in. There's a number of openings there. We still have a number of openings at different spots in the borough where there are buildings that could use that new business attraction. And certainly I know that everyone who wants to, talk about the borough always says, we need more restaurants, we need more retail, we need more this, more that. So it could be beneficial to whatever development could go in there, because we know certainly they're not building for years and years at this point, with how slow our process generally goes. The other thing too, of course, is it's budget time. We're going to be talking again about tax rates and things like that. Opportunities to grow our commercial tax base are really important. We don't know what's going to happen with that development property, that's for sure. But my bigger concern is, how can we be working in other angles? To me, the commercial tax base is another way for us to be thinking about how can we take the burden off of residents by continuing to increase taxes on them and be able to focus on something else. Because we certainly know that besides that development, there aren't going to be more single-family homes and stuff like that in the borough to bring our taxes up.
Well, I might be a little cynical, but I'm not sure how any kind of a plan is actually going to attract more businesses to that shopping center or any place else in the borough, but that's just me. So I appreciate your point. Done.
Any other questions for Rebecca about the, Mr. Mayor, you have something to say?
At this point, I would have to agree with Mary Ann completely on what she's saying, because I was part of making that area a Main Street area back in 2016. The previous administration for the borough then turned around when this plan was in place and allowed a new business to build with the setback with parking in front, which was a total violation of what this was. Not anybody in this room's fault, but it happened against what was set out by council at that point. And with developments that are coming in, I would have to agree that maybe this is not the best time to get that money for this location.
I'm going to throw my 2 cents in because I agree with both of you. I think it's premature.
Fair enough. We do not have to submit any grant application or anything like that. It's an opportunity that hopefully the state will continue to fund. It was a new program last year. I don't know if they will continue to provide this program, but it's certainly one that we can look at in the future.
But we're talking two things, aren't we? We're talking about the program, and then we're talking about hiring a consultant to write the grant for us.
Right, I'm only talking about the grant application this evening, not about a plan. We don't even,
About
we might not
hiring
even get the
this-
money.
This individual who did the park plan to do something for us. You're not talking about that, are you? You're not-
No, not,
Okay.
right, it wouldn't,
You could write the grant.
oh, sure, I could also
Okay.
write the grant.
I still think it's premature.
When we look at this from Barry and Essett, or whatever it is, it says estimated cost of services, $4,000 for preparation of the grant application.
Right,
So it would cost us,
right, no, just to Councilmember Gerber's point, we could still go after the grant, I could just try to write it myself.
I still think it's premature. I think maybe this program will be still continue to be in existence, or another one will come down the pike. But with this, I don't think we know what our borough's gonna look like after this, until we actually go through and the development is actually built. But that's just me.
My only last comment would be that for the sake of the borough's sustainability going forward, I think that we want to be in control of what we want the borough to look like. And if we let it all sort of happen around us and then want to talk about our vision and how we get businesses in, we might possibly be waiting too long. That's my only 2 cents on it. I think we want to juggle that, right? We want to juggle how things happen around us and our story that we tell forward.
I think our zoning is what controls how our borough looks. And if we don't enforce it, there's nothing we can do. As Dave said, the borough allowed this business to come in and violate the wishes of council. I think the way you really create the borough the way you want it to be is when you do your zoning. And I think we just took a look at our zoning, didn't we? With the comprehensive plan?
Sure.
Okay, well, I'm going to shut up now. I'm tired of listening to me.
I believe this evening, Rebecca, you were looking for a motion. Is anybody going to put that motion forward? Then we will move on. I just have a quick note as part of my report. I know that there's a lot of public attention around what's going on with the Garmin development, the 741-999 items. We originally planned to have a public hearing on that item today. There's still some back and forth between our solicitor and Garmin's attorney, so that is going to have to be postponed. Just wanted to put that announcement out there for everybody for the sake of transparency. Outside of that, we will move on to our second public comment for the evening, for those of you who had your hands raised earlier or for anything else. So at this time, council will hear any comments, requests, or concerns from members of the public related to items on the agenda or other matters. Once again, you'll have 5 minutes to speak. We do ask that you come to the microphone or ask that the microphone be brought to you. This is just as entry music. Once again, your name, address for the record, and you are being live streamed.
Good evening, I'm Phil
Phil,
Gerber. I live at
welcome.
122 Village Drive here in Millersville. 2 items. The first is, you're talking about Creek Drive. Now, I've, years ago, walked Creek Drive many times. Creek Drive was a parking space for, a parking lot for the university kids. You would find 40, 50 cars along Creek Drive way back. Is that the case today? I think it should be addressed.
Well, you don't
Would you
know.
like me Would you like me to address?
Yeah, is it currently being used primarily for parking for the university?
Well,
There-
those guys know that.
There is,
It's no parking on both
yeah, there's
sides
no
going
parking
down
on both
that
sides
hill.
going down the hill.
Okay.
Good, that answers that.
That's why they're wanting to narrow, because there's no parking down.
There is parking going up the hill, but not going
Up to
down.
the top of the hill is parking on both sides, and then when you go down the hill, it's no parking.
There's
Okay.
a little space right at the bottom that's like carved out, the cars can park there a lot. And there are typically two kinds of vehicles that will use that. People who are going down to go tubing on a stove, and the other would be people who are going to fish.
Okay, and the second item is, when we met as committees in the past, people from the community were actually invited to join in the conversation. So tonight, I was pushed back to the end after it really was over. I think it would have been appropriate for me to speak during that conversation. So that's just something that irritates me.
Thank you, Phil. Don?
Again, Don McCann, I live in Crossgates. I've walked that hill on Creekgate many, many times. It'd be a destination to go down and see what the status of the river was after a rain or dry period or whatever. And I'd also monitor my heart rate from the bottom of the hill up to the top, and then recovery back down, and then if it recovered, I'd go up towards Pusilla Drive up to the gymnasium. So that was a common area to walk, and I noticed that my macadam is crumbled. Will be potholes if not addressed. And there may be no parking on the hill because they say no parking, but it would definitely be parked if it were permitted. Because I've noticed they do park up to the top of the hill. And I don't know why they don't permit there. I guess they worry about in winter parking there, but it's interesting on parking that I see that the university finally instituted diagonal parking on that first block of East Frederick. And they had wasted a lot of space with the parking pattern they had before. I just don't understand why they did it the angle they did instead of doing like F&M where people would back in. That Creek Drive is used by a lot of pedestrians.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Don. Anybody else? Yes, by all means, come on up, sir.
Randall Snyder, 209 Manor Avenue. I appreciate the comment you gave tonight about Manor Avenue. The way, I don't want to throw stones and I don't want to argue with anybody. But the way I understand this after tonight is, if 138 gets fined, that's the end of it.
No,
No.
no.
Starts over again, the process
But how
starts.
many times do we have to start over? We've been starting over for 20 years. Now, when do we say enough is enough?
Well, if they keep paying the fine,
Well, then we have to change our codes.
if they keep paying the fine, there's not a lot you can do. Now, if they don't pay the fine, then you can put a lien on the property. But this is civil law, it's not criminal law.
And should I sell my lawnmower or not mow my yard?
Well, if you want to keep paying fines,
Well, that's what it's coming down to. I mean, that's what it amounts to, and it's not right.
well, that's all that the law allows. The most you can do is if the law allows you to fine, but the most you can do to a person who doesn't cooperate is put a lien on his property.
Now, to start it all over, do I gotta come again and complain? Do
No.
I have to come again and complain, or as soon as they pay their fine, does it start all over again?
The way our code enforcement process works
Well,
is
you're-
once,
The code enforcement also says you have the right to go in and clean it up.
well, usually that's after we've already gone to the MDJ and dealt with that process. But we generally.
Why don't we do that?
We can if they don't pay their citation and don't clean up the property. but we have to issue, by law, we have to issue a citation before we can take any additional steps.
I mean, I'm not here to create a problem. I just want it cleaned up. All right, because it is,
It's terrible. And unfortunately,
it looks better.
unfortunately, you don't have the tools to force that person to do it, other than the process that's provided for by law.
I know, because we went through this with McLean's property, now it's this one, and this has been going on for 40 years.
And it will, because that's all
Going and
that's
going.
provided on, it'll keep going on as long as you have a neighbor that doesn't want to cooperate. And you've got two of them, unfortunately, there in Manor Avenue, and they don't care. And as long as they can pay the fine, then we have to take the money, wait the appropriate time, issue the citation, wait for them to get back or clean up their property. If they do, there's nothing we can do until we drive by and see they haven't done anything. And then all we can do is pay the fine. If they don't pay the fine, we take them to the MDJ. And if they refuse whatever he assesses them, then we can start putting liens on the property, just like we do for people who don't pay their sewer bills or trash bills. That's all the law
All I'm
allows.
asking is, if they pay their fine, do I have to come up here again and complain?
No,
No, the code officer should see it without
Well,
any
I mean-
complaint. I know.
So,
Somebody's not doing their job, because all you gotta do is drive down the street.
once a citation is issued, then we don't have to go through the violation process again. Once the citation is issued, then we can go directly to another citation. We don't have to,
It's probably already been issued from years ago.
we don't have any record of it.
I might be missing, I'm completely agreeing with you. I care about what our borough looks like. But the last time we talked about this at meeting, didn't the code officer just get the address? Wasn't that?
Well, I don't, that's what I'm here, I don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't understand.
I think
Yeah, I have
he
trouble with that,
I
too.
have trouble understanding.
until he gets the address, and apparently he only got the address the last meeting, and now it's, you know.
When he drive down the road? I mean, why do we have to come here and say 138 looks like crap? I mean, I'm not
Well, that's
picking
an
on, I'm not
ongoing-
picking on the police. but
that's
the
an
police should
ongoing
drive by
issue.
that and say, look, you gotta go look at 138.
That's an ongoing issue with different code officers, and believe me, I've seen quite a few. Whether they're going to be reactive or proactive. And a lot depends on what's on their schedule and what their priority is. So a reactive code officer, you'll have to tell them, I'm complaining about, and if you complain, then that person will go. A proactive code enforcement officer would go around the borough and stop and cite. But you have to understand that the code officer is also the zoning officer, and he also has inspections that he has to do.
Understand.
And we live in a borough where we have a lot of rental
I
properties.
understand that. When I brought that up to him out in the hallway and said 138, you know what he told me? Oh, I thought that was a rental. Well, don't he inspect it?
Well, you should inspect it if it's a rental, but I don't know. All I know is Rebecca is now, and I brought it up today when the code.
I appreciate you. I mean, I'm glad you did.
But now Rebecca knows, and she's on top of it. Code officer isn't here to defend himself, so I'm sure first thing he comes in.
mean, I
The
don't
one
know.
other thing you should know is that we contract
Right.
the services.
Part-time.
Yes, we
Code enforcement.
contract
part-time.
these services
Yeah, I know
part-time.
that.
And the guy's only here 3 days a week.
Understand that.
So the old guy had, 5 days a week and a pension and all of that. But my point is, he was here 5 days a week. This guy is assigned to us for 3 days a week. Plus, he has to go to zoning hearing meetings. So he doesn't have a lot of extraneous times just to drive around. And so if it's brought to his attention, he'll look at it.
We
But
are
Rebecca,
unfortunately
you want to
complaining-
comment on that? But I think
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we do have part-time code enforcement, so it does make it tricky. We try to do our best as staff to catch things as we can. But we are a complaint-based system. Unfortunately, in an ideal world, all of our systems would be proactive, and we wouldn't ever have to ask anybody to send us a complaint. But we are a complaint-based system.
How will I know when the fine's paid?
Well, private citizens unfortunately will not have
They
that
don't have to tell
information.
me. So I should give you 2 months and then come back?
Well, somebody should keep
Rebecca,
complaining.
I
I
have a
can
question.
continue to update council about these issues. Rob puts on all of his reports, all of the inspections that he's done, all of the properties
And
he's
it's a
looked at.
long
So
list.
you can continue to look at those. Rob, he does, he sends to council, he sends to me, and I send it to council every month, all of the things that he looks at. If we wanted to have full-time code enforcement, only focus on code enforcement, that's a budget decision that council can absolutely make in the coming year.
No, that's not what, he knows now that you're going to have to keep complaining.
Because it's not only me, I mean,
No, I
all
know.
the neighbors in the neighborhood, I don't know why they won't come, but they don't want to create problems. But there's a lot of people really upset about this property.
And have been for years.
It's like a
Have been,
cancer.
that's
You
right.
get one, and then you get another one, and then you get another one.
Rebecca, I do have a question, though, concerning this, because say you have someone who doesn't mow their lawn. They get their citations, do whatever, all that stuff, which we all understand. But is there a point at which we ever send any of our borough people in there to mow that and then bill them?
In very specific scenarios, we have when we have continued to receive citations that have been paid, but the issue has not been handled, and the MDJ throws out our citation. So we have to go to the MDJ, we say, we are citing this person, and then he can throw it out. And if he throws it out, then there's very little that the borough can do at that point. So in those situations where we have gotten nowhere, the borough can go in, we charge them for it, and then we lien the property. But that's very different. Mowing someone's lawn versus cleaning up a vacant property, we do not have the capability. We would have to literally hire an entire company to do that.
But this property isn't vacant, is it?
We don't know, unfortunately.
You live down that way, do you ever see anybody
Nobody in
there?
it. There's nobody been in it for 20 years.
Would you check to make sure the taxes and the sewer and trash are being paid?
And that's the other thing that's important to remember, is tax payments. This is terrible, but as soon as someone stops paying their taxes, what happens is then it does go to the county, and the county can put it up for a tax sale, and then it's finally then forced to change ownership, because then it can go for, a sale, somebody can get it through auction. And unfortunately, for some of our properties that are vacant or in legal limbo, as our solicitor has told me multiple times, we kind of have to wait for them to stop paying their taxes.
So we can't at any time go in and clean this place up?
We cannot go inside.
Not inside, I'm talking about the outside, the weeds and all that stuff.
Like I said, we can handle the regular mowing, but anything over that is
I'm going to
a
go
lot.
ahead and end the discussion there. Your complaint is heard, Mr. Snyder, and we do appreciate you bringing that forward. Would anybody else like to address council at this time? Very well. In that case, seeing none, I don't believe we have any reason for an executive session, so I will make a motion for us to adjourn for the evening. Do I have a second?
Second.
Give it to Mike.
Wait, holy cow, you had to wait for that second.
Everybody wants to stay.
Everybody.
All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? I call this meeting adjourned as of
No, he lives at
6:56
270.
PM.